I get called a lot of things here on YouTube in the comments. And one of the things that I get called, and I'm sure it comes from dyslexic people because the spelling's terrible, but they put a word up which I think refers to the great English king, King Canute. Now, I feel sorry for King Canute because, well, he's a little bit like me, so I often think maybe that's why they're calling me Canute, you know, in the comments, naming me after the king, because, you know, I feel sorry for King Canute. He's been maligned. He's been misrepresented, like myself, in so many different ways. He's gone down in history as being this bloke that was all stubborn, a stubborn king who wanted to try and show everybody that he could repel the sea just by sitting there in his chair and saying, you know, go back to the sea. And of course the sea came in and it didn't work, you know, and he was a fool. But that's not actually what happened, is it? No. What Canute did was he wanted to show his people that A, he wasn't all-powerful, and B, there was a greater power than him, and that was God, and God controlled the seas. That's what he was really doing, and that's important in English history, or British history, shall we say, because he showed that the kings don't know everything. The people in charge don't know everything. Now, you're probably wondering what this has got to do with AI. And I realise now that I'm probably going to have to do regular videos on AI because it's coming like the sea. All right? And I don't want to be known as a right Canute for looking like I was one of the ones who thought I could sit there trying to repel it. You know, when in reality what I'm trying to do is that we just have to accept this. It's coming our way. What's the point in going on about it? What's the point? But people do go on about it. And I don't want to go on about it, but people do go on about it. Rick Beato's got on about it the other day. I saw it. He's still annoyed by it. You know. He's even started putting swear words into his titles now, so I might have to do that as well. But he does put the little asterisks out, you know. I don't do that. I just rearrange the letters of certain words. Now, rather than bemoan AI, I would rather just ignore it. I just don't care about it whatsoever. And I tell you why I don't care about it and why it doesn't bother me. It's because I think my mind has moved to a certain place now where it's sort of existing in a netherworld of newness, because we are existing in a realm of newness. There has been an epochal shift. The epochs have changed. And anybody who believes that epochs are a thing can have a look at the world at the moment and say, look, does it seem different from, say, 20 years ago in terms of basic values, principles, ideas? Is it not that the whole world's shifting around us? And you have to see AI within the wider context of where we are at the moment in Western society. So I'm much more bothered about the fact that all the elites, the Canutes of today, seem to be, you know, paedophilic, Moloch worshipping baby sacrifices, don't they? That's more of a worry to me, to be honest, than the old AI. And I have been greatly entertained here in the United Kingdom by the various AI concoctions of the photograph that was taken of Prince Andrew, you know, returning from his conversation with our constabulary.
Shut up, Andy. Just shut up. Can we just stop at Pizza Express? Just one pizza. If we have to.
See, there's much fun to be had there, and I've got to be honest, I don't want to sacrifice AI if it allows normal people with rudimentary Photoshop skills to be able to do things like that. You know, that's incredible. That's what it's all about, isn't it? AI is going to democratize everything. The creative worlds will now change and be handed back to the great big hoi polloi, who will no longer need the skills required to make music or art, except that that's not quite true, is it? What they won't require is the skills required to make 20th century art and music. Because there was a great epochal shift in the 20th century in terms of art and music, right? And we have to look to that. We have to see how that was far more weirder what happened then than what's happening now. Let's just focus on music for this video. We won't mention art again. I know people don't like me mentioning the A word, but I tend to see music as a creative pursuit. I like to remind people that it is a creative pursuit and that we really should be looking at what is the creative aspects of this. Because without that, we're just talking about craftsmanship. We're just talking about skill. And skill and craftsmanship and artisanness is not what makes something art. In music, what made great art was what the king liked. We have to remember this. Old King Canute would have had his own castle somewhere with his own entourage, and they wouldn't have to have just sat there burning dung, you know, and watching the pigs fight for their entertainment. No, not for King Canute. He would have had his royal court, although he was a bit back in the old dark ages, you know. So I don't think he had any court jesters and stuff, but he would have had someone to entertain him, make him laugh, and he would have had some musicians, they would have come in. And his approval would have been like getting a deal and becoming famous in the 20th century. You did have that. You did have the elites controlling what we liked, right? But in the old days, it was the elites controlling what they liked. We know that the reason we know about Bach and Beethoven or whatever it is, Mozart, you know, any of these people, is because there was either a king who patronised them or a church that supported them.
Well, of course I did. It's very good. Of course, now and then, just now and then, it seemed a touch.
What do you mean, sire?
Well, I mean, occasionally it seems to have. Oh, how shall one say? How shall one say directly?
Too many notes.
Exactly. Very well put. Too many notes.
The powers that be supported these artists, and they created an esoteric form of music which was basically known to an elite section of society. Most people didn't know this music because for them, music was a different thing. So in the olden days, before the 20th century, most people, if they wanted to hear music, they had to make it themselves. Music was something that came from them, came from the folk. It was folk music.
What is your profession? God, a retired humorous dancer.
And I could go through all the examples of how that was. You know, maybe you go down to the local tavern, there'd be a fiddler down there, you know, and they'd be playing some tunes. People would be getting up and dancing. They'd all know the songs. Maybe there'd be a local woman that's good at singing. She'd step forward and sing a song, and then they'd pass it on to someone else. This was the nature of folk music. Or maybe it was, you know, few centuries later that people had a piano in their house, and their uncle could play something and they could get all around the piano. He would play by ear and they could play various songs. Of course, at the end of the 19th century with technology, they started to print these songs and sell them, and this started to create an industry. the mechanical copyright that we talk about that musicians make actually comes from the idea of selling music rather than actually selling the sounds itself, records. But of course, in the 20th century, we then invent the record, don't we? And now we have an artist, and that artist becomes a superstar. And that superstar is put there by the elites. The elites now are the guys with the big cigars, with the money, and the record companies. And everything's like that. Books are like that. This happened to books way before. Books was probably the first time it happened. Charles Dickens was a superstar. You know, Arthur Conan Doyle was a superstar because they had their stories appearing in newspapers. Technology came along, the mass production came along of art, and the control of that came from the people who owned the means of control. So when we do look at the older elites at the moment and look at this Epstein thing that's going on, Ghislaine Maxwell's involved in that, and her father was a media magnate, like Rupert Murdoch, or if you go back, that guy that's Orson Welles sort of parodied in Citizen Kane. To own the means of distribution of media was to have power. It's very interesting throughout the history of rock and roll that, you know, various bands would be pushing a sort of revolutionary, you know, let's pull down the system aesthetic, whilst being supported and made very rich by this sort of elitist power structure, which was not just the music industry, but the whole entertainment industry. Now, the king, the person that put themselves, you know, as being the top of the tree, that thing that King Canute was trying to question or point out was not the case, was ignored in 20th century culture, because the powers that be could take some 20-year-old girl, stick her in a film, put all the lights on her, the makeup, the dresses, and before you knew it, you've got a goddess. Some guy that was down the local tavern playing guitar a bit, you know, they could be pulled out, put in a silvery suit, you know, a nice tie, really nice electric guitar, have their hair cut, probably like something like mine in the 50s, and they would become a god. And these gods existed on Mount Olympus, didn't they? And we sort of come here and worship them. And it is such a thing that there are people who watch this video channel that if I was to criticize one of these gods, they get so upset that they feel like I'm almost being heretical. You know what I'm saying? So there was a great division in the 20th century in mass culture between the artist and the viewer, the musician or rock star and the audience. We have the idea of the star. And the star is godlike. They exist in the firmament. They aren't real people. That was the way that money was made out of us when it came to art and music in the 20th century. And we forked over billions and billions and billions to them. There are families that exist on the vast wealth created in film, television and music, whose granddad or great-granddad did something that they aren't quite aware of, but made so much money, and the things that their granddad made, which were so powerful, have now entered culture, and they exist making money for kids who will never have to work, but haven't got a clue what their granddad actually did, or the power of it. I have to think that's quite funny. I don't think it's so funny when on YouTube I get, you know, a video demonetized because it says the copyright holder doesn't, you know, wants the money, not you. Sometimes they'll shut the video down. They have complete power, these copyright holders. You don't want to be putting Jimi Hendrix on. No. Because the copyright holders will pull it down. I'll tell you who's not pulling it down, it's Jimi Hendrix, who made no money out of it. It was ripped off by the industry. But now Jimi Hendrix is an industry all of himself. So the 20th century I hope I've described it enough. A dynamic was created which made money, which the elites utilised to maintain their position. They remained hidden. These elites remained hidden. So we saw as the elites, the rock stars and pop stars and film stars, but they were just nobodies really. It was as though they put a big distractor up. So we could behold Elvis Presley or Marilyn Monroe or Led Zeppelin. We could behold them from afar like this and go, oh my God, there's nothing bigger than that. As I look to them, they're the stars. The stars being the furthest things away we can see that live in the firmament. And we have to try and reach at them, but we can't reach to the stars, can we? That was always the message of 20th century art. You could reach for the stars. You could be whatever you want to be. No, you can't really, though. You don't feel like we have the wool pull over our eyes a little bit? Well, I suppose you always do, especially when you've got a mass media. I mean, why would you have a mass media if you're an elite? To pull wool over eyes. That's what it goes around doing all the time. Then everything changes. The internet comes along, and the internet democratizes people. It's terrifying. It democratizes people. Now someone like me can have a channel and I've got my own little audience here. And you know who's controlling what comes out of my mouth? Well, I'd like to say nobody, but it's not like that because there's forces out there, isn't there? Forces. And a little bit like King Canute, if I say something, I might get labelled a certain way. Now, what do I get labelled? Well, I was reading it this morning, and that's what made me inspired to make this video and to relate it to AI and to give the context of why we shouldn't be worried about AI, a wider context. I read yet another comment where someone has said, Andy is a right-wing YouTuber. Now, I honestly don't think I'm right-wing at all. I keep poking fun at the elites. I think they're in control. I think they're capitalists, all of them. All right? I think that we need to do something about them. And we've got to have our freedom. I don't know whether that's left-wing or right-wing, but I believe we need to pay tax. I think if you're creating wealth, you need to help the person next to you, and you do that by paying tax. And I think we should pay tax. I think the rich should pay tax. I think it should be spent on us, the people, first and foremost. And I believe that we should have some control on how it's spent as well. I think if someone's doing a job, they shouldn't be exploited. So I believe in strong unions. And I think certain things are so important, like healthcare, say, or energy. It's probably best for that to be sort of owned by the people rather than owned by private companies. I think if you add all that, I'm pretty left-wing, I think I'm pretty left-wing. But I keep getting called right-wing. And I know why I get called right-wing. It's the people who call me right-wing are the same people who are trying to shut me up and not have an opinion, to not say what I think. If when I start talking about certain subjects that you think are right-wing, all right, I'm aware that I could be completely wrong, and I'm quite happy to be wrong, right? I'm quite happy to be wrong. When something comes along that changes my mind, I'll change my mind, and that does happen. But I don't feel that's what it's about, because the people that seem to get annoyed are the ones that, I don't know, they feel like I shouldn't be saying it. They're not just going, I don't agree with Andy. I like Andy, he's a nice guy, but I don't really agree with him. I know that those are there as well, and they're quite reasonable. No, I'm not on about them. I'm on about the ones who have a little ping, you know, just at the mention of a word. I can mention the word woke, and those people have a little ping, you know. I could mention Donald Trump in not completely, absolutely binary negative terms, couldn't I? I could do that, for example. In the old days, that would be called having an open mind and being fair-minded. But no, they can't do that anymore. It's black and white. You have to hate certain things. You have to shut certain people up. Now, why? I'll tell you why, because those people who are articulate and vocal and that would have an opinion, maybe they'd be educated, they've had to be switched off. The elites have switched you off, I'm afraid. Okay? They've switched you off. And so you sit there thinking that the powers that be should be able to shut me up and shut anybody up. But the problem is that in having that power, they might try and shut you up, and I really don't want that to happen. And that's all I'm bothered about, is the ability to express myself and say what I want to say. So, I might lament that the old system's not there anymore. And what I'm lamenting is a system that allowed certain people to have a dream of getting into that elite class and making lots and lots of money. But if we think back to it in the old days, before AI and before the internet, most of us who played music played it to nobody, in a garage with our friends, right? It was completely undemocratized. I say that Bob Dylan democratized music, but he only democratized music for the few people that were allowed through the gate into Mount Olympus. It's way better now than it was. Way better. You know, the fact that I'm talking to you like this now is an incredible thing. This is what the technology has done. Now, what's this got to do with AI? Well, the reason why people get upset about AI is because AI is coming, and it's come. I thought this morning about a couple of years ago, only about 2 or 3 years ago, when I did my first video on AI, and I thought, I'm going to be very clever. I'm going to create a video using AI. Now, it was a bit rudimentary back then, but ChatGPT could generate the text. So I could say, write a video like in the style of Andy Edwards. It did that. Then I found a voice generator, which generated the words for me, and then I found an avatar thing that I could drop the words in, so it looked like some other bloke was speaking it. It was really rudimentary, and I had to patch it all together. Now, of course, it could be that this is AI. You could be watching AI, and some of you are sensitive might look and go, no, this isn't AI. AI's got a certain look about it. Remember when all the fingers are all funny and all that bit? But it's all going. That is slowly going. This is why I mentioned King Canute. And there's no point in saying you'll be able to recognise it or know about it, or people who have got, who are erudite and sensitive will be able to tell it's AI. You won't be able to, right? In the same way as you are watching dots, and I am basically coming as you as lots of zeros and ones, and you can't tell the difference between that and reality. This is part of what's happened. The internet has just broken that up, and the elites are panicking. Now, what has happened is that normal people have been able to bandy together, right? And they've been able to explore all bizarre, strange ideas, and I say very, very strange ideas. And they've been able to unearth the fact that there is something really not right with the elites. That's been found out because of the internet. Now, of course, they battled for many, many years, going, well, these people are conspiracy theorists. What? COVID was made in a lab? Oh, you absolute fool. Somebody shut him up. Send him to internet prison. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's one of the Tin Hat Brigade. Next thing he's going to be saying that there's the elites there have a big island, and on there they're, doing all sorts of terrible things with children. Children, with code words like "get me a pizza." If you said anything like that, you were like a nutter. David Icke was off his head. Now, David Icke is off his head. I met David Icke, by the way. I met him in a pub in Wolverhampton. He seemed very nice. I only said hello to him at the bar. I was trying to buy a packet of peanuts and half a bitter, and he was at the bar because he was part of the Green Party back then. I don't think he'd be part of the Green Party now. No. But we need the Green Party. We need differing opinions. We need all these different political parties, and they need to work together. But they're not going to work together, no, because the elites are making sure that we won't work together. Why? Because they're stoking it all up. Why would they want to stoke it all up? Because they're terrified. Because their edifice is about to collapse. Don't you realise that's what's going on? Right? And everything on this video that you think is about AI is actually about that. But it's interesting, earlier on, I put those pictures of Prince Andrew up, created by AI. Now, is that art? Whoa, that's a good question. Is the music that Rick Beato's bemoaning on his channel, these AI artists, is that art or is that music? Well, how about this? Let's just scrap it. Let's just scrap art. Get rid of it. Chuck it out so we haven't got it anymore. Creativity, skill, just scrap it, get rid of it. It's gone. Right? Let's just let it be. Let's just let it be. King Canute should have never been sat on that beach saying, back, and he knew it. It wasn't going to do any good. Right? All he could do is let it be. And eventually that tide would come in and it would settle and eventually it would go back out. And no amount of stopping it or starting it or holding on to it can make any difference. Let's just drop it. Let's just stop worrying about it. I've stopped worrying about it. So, why don't we need to worry about AI? If we're going to lose and have to say goodbye to all these ideas of skill and artisanship and creativity and humanity and, the robots will be making music, everyone will be listening to the robots, they won't be able to make any money out of it. That's all going. It's all going because that is collapsing. The extraction of vast wealth from creativeness is going to die. And I'll tell you why. The reason why it was always a dream, a reason why there was a thing called making it, is because there's nothing greater in the world than to get paid for being creative. People want to be creative. Now that's anti-capitalist. But of course you weren't spending the money on the creativity. All those artists who were true artists would have been creative regardless of getting paid or not. And that has been the downfall of rock musicians. There's always a band willing to play a venue for no money. There's always someone willing to put their music out for no money because they want to be creative. It's really hard to monetize things that people want to do. Okay? What you were paying for was a distribution, which came from a centralized elite power base, as I've said. So, that's falling apart. And what's it being replaced with? Well, it's actually being replaced with the democratization of creativity, where you don't need distribution because the internet does that for you. You don't need the money to put into that. You don't even need the skill to do the thing anymore. Now, this is the bizarre aspect of this. An artist is an artist not because they have skill. It's because they have an idea. And in the old days, if someone had an idea, I had an idea for a song, I want to make this point about life, I really want to say that, I'm going to write a song called Killing Me Softly, and it'll be about me, and I'll be in a venue, and I'm watching a singer-songwriter, and I feel like they're so brilliant at what they do as a singer-songwriter that I feel it down deep. And I feel like they're almost playing me like the instrument, that I'm the instrument. It's their ideas that are playing me. I'm going to write a song like that. I'm going to call it Killing Me Softly. And in a way, it'll be great because this will be a great song. So, and then I'll be doing the same thing. All that'll be there. So it's all multi-leveled. It's all going to be multi-leveled. And when you listen to it, you think about it. It'll be a nice song, but when you listen to it, you think about it, oh my God, this is quite profound, isn't it? And the way Andy's used that in the context of I, it's very profound, isn't it? Because he's drawn a point that the singer-songwriter, the imaginary singer-songwriter, which I think was Don McLean, not the Birmingham comedian, it wasn't him. I can't imagine him inspiring a song like that. But he should have, though. He should have. But don't get put off because you're on something really good here, Andy. Right, so it's not really the guitar he's playing. The guitar is the listener, right? So, surely, if that's the case, surely this thing I've been pushing about saying creativity and art's more important than skill and artisanship, and I feel that if I love Rick Beato, and he's a mentor, he's an inspiration. But I do think he confuses artisanship with creativity, or at least his videos do. I don't think he does, right? But I think his videos say that. AI is bad because it doesn't require skill to be made. That's the basic argument there. But if someone has that idea, now they can go to AI and they can create that song that requires no actual skill to make beyond prompting it. Now, surely putting prompts in is the truest idea of what you want to say, your reaction to the world, to the AI. Now, the truth is, at the moment, anybody who tries to do that with AI will realize that the AI is dictating them. It's nowhere near there. No, and I could have done the video on that, and that would have been quite a profound thing to say, you know, is that nobody can actually get their ideas out. All you ever get is some sort of, it's like an average of what your ideas represent already in the field of creativity from all the stuff that's already been created by mass media. But my point is, and I thought about this in depth this morning on the way here, it will get there, right? It's AI will be able to do anything, but it will always be following us. But AI can't exist without the prompts. It needs the prompts, and the prompts you could see as being creative. Now, people who are into AI music, right? That's how it feels to them. They go to Suno or Udio and they put their prompts in and they listen to it. They go, "Oh, I really like that. I've created this piece of music using Suno," and then they put it on their profile, and only they listen to it, or maybe their direct family, but nobody else. We are returning to a sort of atomized version of folk music. The guys at Suno are really trying to push it so it becomes communal. So you'll have pockets of people working together because that's what they want. This is what the intention is, right? Now, of course, the guys who created Suno, they don't want to save music or destroy music. What they want to do is create some idea that they can somehow, how do they do it? They come up with some idea. It doesn't actually make money, but then they can go and sort of float it on the market or do something capitalistic, which then makes it worth $1 billion. And then the actual real gates, not the one that Elvis Presley, that was just a sub-temple. The real Mount Olympus, you know, with the islands and the actual temples on the islands, you know, that type of thing. You know, then with the aeroplanes flying to the islands, right? They will get access to that. But the problem is we're going to spot that they've got access to it now because we've been democratized and we can say, they go into that island. Look, they're going to we demand you tell us. Yeah, well, we'll show you this. We'll show you it. No. Right. What's more important? This is the thing. I want you to realize that the democratization of normal people's voices on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and all the politics that surround that, that's a greater trade-off. If we have to lose music and there's no more money to be made in music, you don't need any skill, right? And all these guitars that I've got in this room and these drum kits behind me, what do they become things? They just play things for me. Well, they always were, weren't they? I was lucky to I made my living out of those there, you know, for a while. Everyone knows, you know, the only people making livings out of those things, you know, on the back of people are like 80 years old. You do know that. 80 years old who have got an audience of similar age, are still going through the motions like the zombies that they are, you know, trying to pretend it's like 1974, but it's not. This channel exists because of that. Right? And then I have a choice. Can I just mine that? Shall I just come out here and talk about Pink Floyd or Jethro Tull or Joy Division or whatever it is? to make these old people feel that they're sat back in their old, oh, I don't want to know about it all. I wish Andy would stop his right-wing talking points and just talk about the past so I can sit there in a bath of nostalgia. I'm not talking right-wing talking points. There's only one thing I've ever championed on this channel. That's creativity, right, which people don't like, and free speech and freedom of expression. And anything that stops that, I think, is wrong, right? I am one of those proper sort of artsy-fartsy liberal types that believes everyone should be able to do whatever they want, and if they want to run around naked and paint themselves, then they can do that. You can do whatever you want, as long as you don't go breaking the law. When you break the law's there. But anything else, saying stuff, you can say whatever you want, You can say, if I want to go, say that, I think that, what's the worst thing I could say at the moment? To make a point. I could be making a point here that at this point in the video, the climax of the video could be me saying all the wrong things that you could possibly say about everything. Like this. Now, of course, that's just me doing this and dubbing over bleeps. Because we live in a censored society, even with all this going on. Who's censoring me? The elites. They are censoring me. Yeah, but you should be censored. You can't go around saying bad things. It's a terrible thing to do that. No, it's not. What's it going to do? What's it going to do? What could I possibly say now that would be as bad as having an island with a temple on it where you can bloody, worship the great horned beast? Can you not see the preposterousness of this? And you're worried about AI? God. You, my friend, you out there in YouTube land watching this, you can be creative. You don't need any of this. Can you make a living out of it? Yeah, you can make a living out of it, but now it's a different living, okay? Now, say we have this community of music, and AI is trying to create this community of music. I don't think it's going to be able to do it. It's going to be atomized. They're going to try and make it do it. But the trouble with AI is I think the only people that will be interested in the AI creations will be the people that created it. It's like when you have an interesting dream. That dream's only interesting to you. Nobody wants to hear that story. I had a funny dream the other day. Oh, did you? Oh, God. Please don't tell us. I don't want to hear your dream. Because there's no context to it. It doesn't mean anything. Whatever you say, however incredible it is or outlandish, it's never going to be interesting to anyone else because it exists in the realm of the dream world. That's what AI is, right? So, I'm not stupid, okay? And I know I'm not, because I saw this actually about 5 years ago. I spotted it. And now I sit in my studio, and this studio is funded by these videos. Once this video is finished, I will go over there and I will make music, which I do every day because I have to do it or I'll go nuts, right? Nothing's like music for me. My YouTube videos give me great satisfaction, but I don't have the feeling when I've finished a video as I do when I've created a piece of music. Drumming doesn't do it, playing the guitar doesn't do it. What does it for me is creating a piece of music. Right? I have a Bandcamp with about 50 albums on, and I don't care whether people listen to those or not. Right? I've made those because I have to make them. They are the product of my weird psychology where I have to do that all day long, every single day. For every day of my life, I need to be creating music. If I don't, it goes bad. It goes bad. But the thing is, what I found with the internet is that I could create my own little folk world. I have created here my own little tavern, and I can get up out of bed as I have done, and I can put on my nice suit and put on a shirt, and I can go down to my tavern and engage with my small community of people. We are like a little folk community, and I can play my music. And actually, right from day one, I was trying to set up something where the people who watch this channel who also make music, that they can share and express their music. Now, that has happened to some extent. It happened with my Patreon WhatsApp group. Now, yesterday I had a very interesting conversation, and I didn't plan to talk about this in this video, but here we are. I was chatting to a guy that's just written a book on the local music scene, a guy called Rich Morley, very interesting man, but his day job is working out in outreach, trying to help young people. Now, it's my strong belief that the way you help young people, or certain young people, is through teaching them how to be creative, enabling them to be creative. See, I can go here. I need those skills for me. The skills I've developed as a musician, I need them for me. I don't care whether AI does them or not, right? I just don't care about that. They're for me. And I believe those skills can open a door for young people. So people are still going to play music. They still want to play together. They're still going to want to get up and perform live. They're going to want to do all these things. Now, as you know, I have a couple of channels which are now defunct. The main reason I closed down my politics channel was not because the elites, were making some of you very angry that I was actually having an opinion about stuff, Although that played a great part and I became tired of it. No, I closed down my politics channel because I needed to focus on this channel and there was too much to do. That sits there doing nothing. And then I have my film channel. So I've got two channels and I don't know. And I keep playing with this idea of my other channel, making it a place for you lot. So if you're making creative stuff, right, I'll just bang it up on that channel for you. Now, the only reason I haven't done this is because it's the work. And believe me, I'm working 7 days a week, about 12 hours a day, and it never stops. When my channel went down, that was like, in a way, it was sort of like a bizarre holiday. And if you notice, rather than come back after the great, disappearance of Andy Edwards' channel of January 2026, rather than come back doing the right thing, which is to capitalize on the Rick Beato boost by doing really loads of, videos that people want to watch, basically. I've just been doing exactly what I wanted to do. Playing with my band. I mean, I got a video coming out today. It's Sunday as I film this. This afternoon I will have a half-hour video coming out. No one will watch it. The views will be terrible. It will actually hurt the algorithm. YouTube will go, what's Andy Edwards doing now? Put out videos that nobody wants to watch. None of you will click on it, right? But me and my friend Brian and Steve, we came here the other day and we played. And I'll put it out there. And I enjoyed doing it. And if somebody watches it and goes, Andy's just in his room with his mates playing and they just recording something and then they banged it out there. And that's amazing, And it's like, I know he normally gets around about 10,000 views on a video and he's only got 2,000 views on this. But 2,000 views is pretty good considering that he's just indulging himself in front of everybody. That's one thing I wouldn't like to see, really. I mean, we do have to have standards, You can't just be doing anything on the internet, But of course, there's certain people indulging themselves, and making millions out of it, aren't they? And we live in a really strange society at the moment. It's shattering and reforming. But I feel that in the long term, the internet might be able to provide something that the elites did. That might be the most terrifying thing. AI might be able to, regulate the economy, make tax more efficient, redistribute the tax, and it might be that we can be involved in a democratic process that controls our local communities for us. Can you imagine that? Because the terrifying thing for the elites is that the elites made their millions by having this workforce under them. And that workforce need to be controlled, and they control them. They don't need them now. And so actually the elites look at us and go, well, That big mass of people, what do we do with them? We don't really need them anymore, do we? Nah, not really, no. Don't need them. I quite like having them there, I know. The only way we could keep them going is to put them on some sort of universal income. You know, once AI's doing everything, posting letters and building stuff and driving, and I mean, what are the humans? What are the humans going? I'm calling them the humans now, so the elites aren't the humans. David Icke, you were right. Sorry, mate. We really maligned your ideas. There's something there, I've got to admit. So they sit there on Mount Olympus, go, what should we? I quite like maybe I don't know, some sort of universal income. I know, but we're gonna have to spend out a lot. Not if they don't go outside. If they don't go outside, it'll be all right. They could live in their own little world, you know. They could just be inside a headset. Then they don't have to have a big house. They could just pretend they've got a big house. We actually have our big houses. We've got our islands where we can do whatever they want. They can have that in a virtual form. In fact, you know, we made the big island, didn't we? So that we can, you know, sort of practice on there. And then we can sell that at some point as a sort of virtual experience. You know, no one will think it's bad when they're doing it in AI, in the virtual reality. And then once they're all doing it, they can't have a go for doing it in reality, can they? You know, all they've got to do is provide us with their young every now and then. George Clinton did albums about all this. This is all bloody there. Look, listen to the artists. It's not about skill. It's about what they were saying. My God, I've covered some stuff on this one. This is it here, I'm telling you. So I'm going to get moved to a conclusion because I know I can talk and talk on this forever. Talk on this and forever. Right, so what's my conclusion? Right, AI is the thing, it's here. Right, it's eventually going to boil down to an atomized individual pastime where you have your own music that you've created and you listen to it, and that's what Suno wants. You have your account online, so you pay for that, and then your music, you have sounds that you can love yourself. You create those sounds in an instant. You create them and receive them at the same time. Okay, now I don't care about it because I'm just going to carry on doing what I do. Right, last night I got in, once the whole day was over, I put a film on, and as I always do while I was watching the film, I pick up my guitar and I gently strummed it for about 4 or 5 hours. And no, that's not a euphemism. I actually did strum my guitar, just fingering, stop being so rude. Fingering certain shapes, you know. My friend Chanan Hanspal had done a video on the whole tone scale, so I fiddled around with that. And I did that for hours. And now I've come here and I'm going to make a video. Then I'm going to start making music again. No one's going to stop me doing it. I don't care about AI. I'm always going to be doing it. I'm going to do it to the day I die. And I'm going to try and do my best to reach out to the young people and say, you can do this too. Right? Forget about jazz. Forget about skill. Forget about all that. You do what you want to do. You pick up that guitar and you strum it. Like that bloke in 2112 when he finds it in the cave, you know. All in the Indian, he tunes it up even though he's never seen a guitar before. The bit that I always take the mickey out of. But that bit actually does, it's quite powerful really. You see, I'm not right about anything really, am I? Here I am trying to explain possibly the most complex and profound point. And trying to use examples from the 20th century art to show, even though this was a commodity of the elites, within there are these esoteric ideas. And it boils down, in the end, to 2112 by Rush. I knew they were the greatest band of all the time, because the boring bit on 2112, when he gets inside the cave, you know the bit, and he gets that guitar out, and he discovers music again. That's the whole point. It's never going to go away, not if you don't want it to be. And the thing is, you are all democratized. You are all able to express yourself, right? You could put it out there. You could try and create the community through your creative expression. And maybe it's creative expression that creates communities. But you know what's going to stop you doing it? Right, this is the powerful bit of the video. Oh, we thought this was powerful already, Andy. This is really profound. No, you watch this now on this. You watch this now. You watch what I'm about to say now. Right? All of you could be creative, but the thing that stops you is the idea of you looking bad, of you creating things that aren't skillful, that aren't perfect, and people laughing at you because they think that you are like some stupid person putting out your stupid ideas. Because your ideas, you believe, if you express them, would be dirty, rubbish ideas, ideas that are low, and people would suddenly, they become aware, they be exposed to you as a person, and your own self-loathing will be on display to everybody, like you have gone out with no trousers on and the old, private parts are being seen by everybody, and they're judging you for it, and you don't want it. If you're going to put anything out, you're going to spend your whole life pretending that you are going to put it out and practicing in your mind that one day you might put that thing out, and when you put it out, it will be perfect. That idea, right? That idea comes from 20th century art and music. That's the idea that created AI. No, you show everyone your dirty knickers. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. That's the whole point. I come on here, my rubbish low quality videos, as Rick Beato said, and I stumble and I go wrong and all sorts of things happen. I don't care, do I? I say what I say, I don't even care whether I'm right or wrong. To me, this is something I do. I get up in the morning, I experience stuff, I think about it, I come down here and I talk about it. That's all I do. Right? When my mouth is going, I'm not in control of it. If people don't like what I say, I can't do anything about it. Am I a bad person? I've gone through that with this channel, with all the comments and been told I'm a bad person by thousands of people. I've had to go away and go, me being a bad person is down to what I think about myself and what my family think about myself and what my friends think about me. And this isn't reality. We've touched on a lot of stuff and I've been able to explain a lot of stuff. This has been a good video for me. I woke up this morning very early. It's very early here at the moment, here at the Jellyman's Mill. I had to get this off my chest. Those are always the best videos. It's like a bottle that's been shaken up by the experience of life, and then you have to just uncork it and it all comes shooting out all over the place. That sounded rude as well. Everything sounds rude today, you see. I'm trying to do a serious video. It's because I'm British, you see. I'm British. I'm at the end of the video. I just feel like there's so much more. I'm going to have to come back to AI continually. It has to be addressed regularly. Right? And these videos will do well. Any video on AI always does well because people are interested in AI. Probably because they see their own doom in it. But once you accept your dirty pants, your dirty knickers, once you accept yourselves and start to just go online and say what you want to say and do what you want, this is why freedom of expression is so important. It's not whether you're right or wrong. It's nothing about that. You don't have to worry about that. What you have to do is put your voice in there. All right? And as long as you are a true liberal and you let everybody else have their voice and you don't try and shut anybody else up, then the arguments or the discussion or the reflections or reactions to the aesthetic beauty of the world around us will all mingle together and the best stuff come out. And you will be there. You might be a wretched artist, you might not be a creative person, but you still need to create. You still need to create. Everybody needs to have a creative aspect. Being able to create, being able to express yourself is the hallmark of a healthy person. And a society that can tolerate freedom of expression is a healthy society. I promise you this is true. Right, I am totally convicted on this. So, I don't know what this video is, but basically, AI, I've said it all. The thing is, this video is too bloody complex. That's the thing. What I'm trying to get across is the idea about I've done it. I have done it. I know I've done it. It's so bloody complex. I don't know whether I've done it for the simpletons out there, where they understood this. But they're always going to be there. Calling me a Canute whilst I try and show you all that we can't hold it back, but I'll be misrepresented. You see how I've brought it round to the beginning of the video, and now it all makes sense, my Canute reference. It's all very clever, isn't it? I do this off the top of my head. I know it is. It's very clever. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.
My all-time favourite band, I guess. I first saw them playing Tarred and Feathered on a programme called The Tube.
It's true.
So, I am very pleased to be able to present this, I would call it film, on Cardiacs.
With his brother Jim and a rotating court of loyal players, he led the group through enchanted forests of sound beginning in the late 1970s.
Where we just invite all our mates over and do loads of drugs.